Hello, folks. I know it's been a while. I'm the kind of guy who follows his passions, and so sometimes I won't upload for weeks, and then I'll upload twice in a day. It's just the way I. And obviously, there's been a bit of news lately, news that I am interested in. Microsoft acquired Blizzard and Activision yesterday, as most of you have probably seen. Also, Dende is here. Hello, Dende. Just to lighten the tone of this otherwise probably kind of serious video, because I've seen all kinds of takes on this and just bad takes, hot takes. And of course, as always, I have my own opinions. And it's kind of like this. There's all kinds of angles we can talk about this topic from, like, oh, this means Sony is going to lose now. This is a bad thing because of monopolies and just owning everything. And we can go into probably the simplest of those topics first, which is how this is going to affect the quote unquote console wars. I think it's fairly simple to say that Microsoft has kind of unequivocally won this console generation. It just has. I mean, they own all of the classic PlayStation properties now. They own Tomb Raider, they own Spyro, they own Crash Bandicoot. Tomb Raider they owned before with Eidos. Crash Bandicoot and Spyro is part of this acquisition. But it just feels to me like they've pretty much won the game. Um, and interestingly, to me, I would still not buy an Xbox. I would never buy an Xbox. And there's a possibility I would buy a PS5, but there's no possibility I would ever buy an Xbox. Why? Because Microsoft releases all of their games on PC anyway. So there's no point. There's no reason. I already have a PC. I can get everything they could ever release. Frankly, the most likely PlayStation is going to get to me buying their games is releasing them on PC like they've done with God of War, and I really hope that continues. This is all good news for me in terms of like games coming to PC. That's really good news because that's getting closer to this idea of the end of exclusivity and things like that. But as far as there we go. Move the microphone so you can see Mr. Dende. But look at him closing his eyes. He's not very social. He's not very social, but he's a good lad. But yeah, what does this mean for Microsoft? Just getting closer to that snowball, and I think that's the real topic I want to talk about because there's a lot of people going, "Oh, I hope Microsoft don't keep buying companies, or this is bad for gaming." And I'm like, "Yeah, but this is what they do. This is how it goes." you know, post-apocalypse fiction used to be about our fears for the atomic bomb. And I think cyberpunk fiction, as has become more popular, is about our fears for the world if we continue not having any significant monopoly laws, if we continue just letting companies gobble each other up. It's just a snowballing effect, right? And in whatever amount of time, we'll end up with two or three mega companies that run the world, these hyper corps, and then we'll have the fucking hyper wars, We'll have wars fought on through the internet and through ownership and through corporate espionage, and this is the world we're heading to. It's not fiction; it's literally gonna happen. Like these companies don't just vanish; they don't stop acquiring. There's no end to it. They just keep eating and eating and eating, and this is probably one of the ones that has made people notice a bit more because it's on the level of Disney gobbling up Marvel. But has Disney stopped gobbling companies up? No, and they won't. And I think this is one thing I take exception to is that people go, well, Microsoft is bad. And maybe I have a different perspective on this um, than many, because I don't necessarily think corporations are evil. I think they're like animals. They are groups of people, therefore they cannot really have morals as such. They just have a set of laws that they follow, a set of motives, and everyone working for that company needs to follow the motive of that company, which is always just to make more profit and be more successful. Everyone's doing their jobs. Everyone's doing what they should be doing. They're working. The only way a company can really be ethical is if it's run by a single person. If a single person owns it, then it can be according to that person, or a tightly knit small group. But as companies grow larger, it's just inevitable. You have to bow to the mass, and humans are nice when they're separate, but when humans get together in groups, they they can become scary. We've all seen it in various different facets of life. Once groupthink sets in, there's there's nothing to stop the worst of humanity coming out. But I'm really digressing into some philosophical bullshit. Um, what I really meant to say is, like, if we don't like this trend, we shouldn't be attacking Microsoft and Disney. We need to change laws because companies just act according to those laws. Like, if a little animal eats a mouse, we don't get mad at the animal. It's in the animal's nature to eat the mouse, right? If Dende scratches me while I'm handling him, I shouldn't get mad at Dende. He's just running around doing what Dende does. He doesn't mean it with malice. He's just doing what he's his little lizard brain's programmed to do. Like he's going to jump off of me right now, and he could hurt himself. He could jump straight onto the floor because he's an idiot. Here, onto the floor with you, then, and off he goes. But that's just in his nature. It's my job as the owner to make sure he doesn't jump and fall off and hurt himself. Or, for example, if I've got a dog, it's my job to stop that dog from eating Dende, which I don't. But if I did, it would be my job, and I wouldn't get mad at the dog if he followed his predator drive and ate a smaller animal. That's what nature tells him to do. Humans have consciousness. Animals don't, and corporations don't. Corporations don't really have consciousness. It's too diluted. It's just a conglomerated mass, right? So the onus falls on us to, try and amend laws like anti-monopoly laws. It's just like the whole taxation thing. Um, companies are just doing what makes them the most profit. Like it's our fault for not having any kind of anti-tax avoidance laws or coming together. Like if there are no anti-tax avoidance laws, then if you're a company that arbitrarily follows morals, then all that means is that you're going to go bankrupt and leave the companies who didn't follow their morals. So you might as well avoid the tax to begin with because everyone else is doing it, right? It's like another fucking dumb example is like FF14. Everyone rolls need on the shit that they don't actually need at all. It's like, okay, everyone else is doing it. Nobody else is going to stop. If I roll greed on these items, I'm just going to not get to roll. I'm just going to lose them. So I guess I'll just roll need, same as everyone else. It would be down to the designers to implement a fix for that or implement a better need greed system than is currently implemented. Otherwise, there's nothing the players can really do. And this is boiling it down a lot. Obviously, we always have a choice, but it's impossible to fight against the tide of inevitability forever. And so it is with Microsoft. And here are my predictions. I think Microsoft is going to keep acquiring things. And we all know that Microsoft tried to eat Nintendo about 20 years ago and failed. Well, that was 20 years ago. And what do I see on my YouTube subscriptions today? But, ooh, Nintendo Switch Expansion Plus Pass, Banjo-Kazooie. And I saw that and I was like, Microsoft's real nice to Nintendo. They're not like they are to Sony. They treat Nintendo not as a competitor because they're not. You're not a competitor to Microsoft. Then they just farted. He's been farting lately. He's never done that before. Little farter. Anyway, yeah, like they look like they're courting Nintendo. You know, they look like they're courting. They're maintaining because this is what they do. They've been courting Blizzard Activision for a while now. We've heard of all these talks. They want to maintain good relations, and Microsoft, it seems like, are pretty good as an owner, and they should be. They've been doing it for quite a long time. This is kind of what they do. So, 20 years ago, Nintendo had a completely different president, and that era, unfortunately, is long over. You look at Nintendo now, and they're releasing gacha games, releasing pay-to-win games. The once clean, family-friendly image of Nintendo. Look at the eShop, and you've got borderline hentai games coming out. Uh, all of the weeb shit, all of the weeb shit that pushes the boundaries. That Nintendo once would have turned its nose at that, but not anymore. Nintendo are a company the same as any other now. It's inevitable, and it's unfortunate. This is the world we live in now, is that we don't really have mom and pop companies anymore. And that's going to continue unless we change laws now. The future of the world without anti-monopoly laws is cyberpunk. That's why we have that whole genre. Is the tide of inevitability gets so bad that you eventually give up and give into nihilism and give up on activism, and you just start writing cyberpunk novels. So that's all that is. Um, insofar as I like the little statement. Let me find it. Yeah. We're looking forward to extending our culture of proactive inclusion to the great teams across Activision-Blizzard. Yeah. It's just, it's weird how everything has to be virtuous these days. It's like this is corporate acquisition. And anyway, I think it could be good in a sense, but also I don't think it's, well, I mean, who knows? Maybe they're like less bad than Activision Blizzard, or maybe they're just a lot better at covering it up. I'm not even going to comment on that because I don't know enough or have enough faith that any of these companies are really that different. It's like Pat and Wooly say. It's that literally anyone in any company could be horrible. It's just we don't know about it yet, and we're constantly finding that there's like no clean companies um at all. You know, there's not that much that comes out about, for example, look at some of the small companies, like, for example, Supergiant Games, who make Hades and Transistor and Bastion. They all seem nice. Seems like a lovely corporate culture. Tomorrow we'll probably find out that they're all cannibals or murderers. We don't know. And so I make no statements about the cleanness of Microsoft. I'm sure there's a bunch of conspiracy theorists already fucking typing up their comments below. It's already fucking going on about Bill Gates and his vampire cult or whatever. Listen, I'm not even fucking saying you're wrong. There's probably a vampire cult. Who knows? Maybe there's a doomsday cult. I'm sure you've researched it, and all of your ideas are based in pure fact. I believe all conspiracy theorists 100%. Believe all conspiracy theorists. They're all correct, every single one of them. So I'm not disparaging you. But uh it's gonna be I like to say I was gonna say it's gonna be interesting. It's not gonna be interesting. It's just the same old shit. At the end of the day, I wasn't even going to make a video on this because I like to talk about games and gameplay and not kind of industry gossip. As such, this has nothing to do with games as far as I'm concerned. This is not going to really affect the creation of games to a degree that I care about. I don't even really play Blizzard games anymore these days. But this is a big enough thing and an interesting enough thing that I have a different enough perspective on that maybe there's some of this that's of interest to one or two of you out there. But I'm going to get back to doing some real fucking shit. Maybe some real journalism. Ha ha ha. No, not really. But that's all I really wanted to say on this topic, at least for now. So if you have any thoughts, I'd be happy to discuss this with people. So if you have any interesting nihilistic thoughts, otherwise, thank you for watching and have yourself a great rest of your day. I'm going to be still uploading more content. It's just more sporadic. Currently, I'm focusing on my game design and my programming and my learning. But, this is still a fun hobby. I still like to make these videos, and I will be making videos where they're interesting and streaming a little bit of Total War Warhammer with Don Hayes this Friday, and when Total War Warhammer 3 comes out. So look forward to that. Anyway, Greets us out.